Joining us as we defend the land of the free, home of the brave. Remember back when that wasn't a joke and the whole world marveled at our private property rights, our family rights, our Second Amendment? The great engine of wealth all over the world was our republic. Now, I just saw another big university report in the LA Times last week about how we're ranked at the bottom of industrialized countries for freedom, and now ranking behind many third world nations. We are not the land of the free, home of the brave. There's still some free speech, still some Second Amendment, still some property rights. But all of that is being overthrown. Let me tell you, when the president can tell you you've got to buy health care, as if that isn't unconstitutional, of course it is, but then give thousands of companies who are his buddies waivers where they don't have to buy it for their employees, that is outright hardcore mafia. But why not? Why not? If 11 years ago they could sign a secret deal with the VA, now public for a year, to take all the death benefits of World War II troops right through to modern troops. That's right, you got out a Desert Storm, 1 or 2, you die in a car wreck, your wife thinks she's getting that insurance check from all that money you put in from your paycheck, you're not getting it. The government signed a deal to let the big insurance companies take it. You see, people better grow up and realize just how corrupt this government is. And they need to grow up and learn who runs the government. Foreign, offshore, totally ruthless mega banks that have overthrown hundreds of third world countries. And every time I say that, I get emails going, hundreds of countries? Yeah, there's over 180 countries in the world, and almost every one of them is economically overthrown and raped on average every decade. Argentina, Mexico, Nigeria. You want me to go on? See, I happen to be an expert on this. You're an expert on football. If you're a new listener, you're an expert on volleyball championships coming up. I'm an expert on the real world. And I happen to know what happens in history when people let government get out of control. People get hurt real bad. Society and civilization degenerates. And in every case, masses of people get killed. Giant wars start. Every thug, every control freak gets a job with the government and with the in crowd, raping, robbing, and stealing. And all the fruits of big government, all the fruits of the Constitution and Bill of Rights being gone are now manifest. The hedge of protection is gone. Number one in education 50 years ago, now ranking behind every industrialized country. Longest life expectancy 50-something years ago. Now the lowest in the industrialized world. Should I keep going? We are becoming a cursed nation. And I'm not giving you some Bible speech here. I'm talking about cursed by corruption, cursed by not learning the lessons of history. Well, there's 3 different ways to learn, they say. There's by experience, there's by teaching, and there's by revelation. It'd be great to have things revelated to us, wouldn't it? But more often than not, your parents, others try to teach you. You're too smart. You don't listen. Founding fathers, let's not listen to those old guys. What do they know? They were just the cutting edge in history and still are, but let's just ignore them. You know, guys, if they disagree with each other, will politely get their muskets and go out in the street and have a duel. Yeah, the vice president didn't like Alexander Hamilton trying to sell him out to the British. He said, I'll meet you outside. Hamilton said, okay. And you know what happened to Hamilton. Let's not listen to those guys. You know, real men, geniuses, but also ready to get in a sword fight with you in 10 seconds. Could speak Latin, German, you name it. Let's just ignore them. Let's just not, you know, what they gave us that built all of this. Let's just get rid of all that. What do they know? So, most of us never get taught by revelation. That's a great blessing. Most of us don't get taught by teaching, by instruction. We don't listen. We get taught by experience. We get caught by experience. That's how we get taught. You know, I had a dog that liked to dig out under the fence and run around in traffic. But let me tell you, after he got hit by a car and half his teeth knocked out and his arm paralyzed, and I had to get him back to health, helmet, let me tell you, that dog didn't get near roads and was scared of roads after that. He didn't listen to me when I'd have him on the leash. He was pulling towards the highway. But he didn't need to be told anymore once he almost got killed and knocked, I'm told by the folks that picked him up and saved him, 20 feet off the side of the road. He got taught by experience. And let me tell you, America, you're going to get taught hardcore by experience. You think there's tyranny now? You think you've been overrun? You think we're in a depression now? Get ready. You haven't seen anything yet. History is entering a flux period of rapid acceleration at every level. The good and the bad and the ugly, unchained. Every private demon of control freaks in government and major corporations turned loose. They write the laws now. They control the courts now. Evil has now been unleashed, and it's just getting started. You think Texas state reps having their genitals squeezed and being told this is for punishment by the TSA, you think that takes a lot of nerve. Well, they've been told by Daddy Fed, you punish those people, and those guys will do what they're told. You think that's scary? You haven't seen anything. There's a reason the feds are trying to break the states right now, because they know the states are one of the only legitimate avenues for peaceful resistance to tyranny. The globalists want a shooting war. They want a revolution. See, they build up the police state. They tell you it's for foreign terrorists, while they put in policies that they know are going to cause resistance. And then when you resist having your farm or ranch taken for no reason, or you resist having your children abused, and you finally fight back like a red-blooded human, they're going to call you a terrorist and use that to build up their force multiplying system against the general public. They don't care if cops and military get killed and all of this. That's part of the plan. So police and military and everybody else, you better grow up and stop playing checkers and start playing chess. And you better realize history, and you better get history real fast. Almost said get religion. But you're not going to get that in the 501c3 government finance controlled churches, where over 100,000 major churches now are publicly on Homeland Security payroll to spy on you. Land of the free, home of the brave, where you go to church to get spied on by the government. Oh, I said I'd get to the news. Judge has harsh words for mom before sentencing her for spanking her kid. Another deceptive headline, but again, when the propaganda is multi-generational, this reporter doesn't even know they're putting out this info, because I went and looked up the actual case. They agreed to the plea bargain, and then they had the plea bargain sentencing. The judge couldn't give her 5 years probation and all these fines and family court for something that is not illegal in Texas. The girl was not hurt. By the way, she was out of control. And if you doubt me, House says no to parental consent for spanking. They can beat your kid in a government school with a big old board when they're acting like demons, but you can't spank them? The reason the school can spank your child is the same reason you can't, because it's not illegal. You give applied consent when you put them in that school. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, with the TSA and then World War III. Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, right here on the GCN Radio Network. Back Sundays, 4 to 6 p.m. Thank you for joining us. All right, I got to get to our top news, and that's World War III. I'm not talking about your daddy's World War III or your mama or your grandpappy's, where you think of war with the Russians and nuclear war. I'm going to give you the actual definition, or definitions, they vary only slightly, of what a world war is. And then you can argue what number this really is. The Pentagon is calling this internally World War IV. And I tend to agree with them a bit that the Cold War was World War III by the definition, but the public doesn't know that happened, so I got to call it World War III. And that comes down to communication. Now, I've already covered some of the police state news dealing with our children, but here's another one. And I see these every week now in Washington State, California, Wisconsin. This one's in Massachusetts, and it's U.S. Open Kids. That's the name of a group of kids the organization's U.S. Open Kids, trying to raise money for cancer. 100% of the money is given to cancer research. Fined for operating lemonade stand to fight cancer. They were fined $500 apiece for running a corner lemonade stand for cancer. Research. I'm sorry. You got to train them to be good little slaves. While Wachovia and its parent, Wells Fargo, got caught laundering $376 billion in narcotics money and owning and leasing and running the aircraft with the drugs on board. They got, of course, in no trouble because they run this country. But your child gets caught anywhere in America running a lemonade stand. They're going after, they're fining Girl Scouts now, claiming they got to have a license to go door to door. You know, that's always the big telltale sign of a tyranny, is that it targets the general law-abiding good people. Because we're seen as milk cows or hogs to slaughter. Okay. Some other news before I finish up with the TSA and then get into the World War III news. Remember this a few months ago? I just thought I'd mention this because you've heard of it. It got some attention. TomTom, that's one of the GPS units, sorry for selling drivers' data to police. They're real sorry that without a warrant, they sold all of their customers' data to the police. You got to wonder why you can buy things at cost. It's because there's hidden money involved. And, of course, you remember that, Financial Times of London. That was back in April, 3-4 months ago. I only mention that because there's a couple new articles today. Here's one, Herald Sun. Apple patent will stop you filming concerts, sports events on iPhone. And they say they're going to put up these infrared towers everywhere that pick up when your cell phone is filming any live event. Doesn't matter if it's a public symphony down at Zilker Park in Austin where there's nothing against filming. You're all just treated as evil, and it switches your phone off. Contacts Apple, and they switch your phone off. You think, well, that's not a big deal. Here's what you need to understand. Google, which is an admitted NSA, CIA creation, it's on record. Government funded it and founded it and through In-Q-Tel, which is the CIA public venture firm that funds new technology so they control it. DARPA created the Internet. The Pentagon created the Internet, in case you kids believe Al Gore did it in 1996. But continuing here with this news, Google admits in its specs, in press releases to other industries, and we've covered this written ad nauseum articles, that for 6 years, that all the cameras and microphones, Google dials in without asking you and listens and tracks everything you're doing. Just like in public schools in California and Pennsylvania, they admit, hey, we're watching your kids at home, in the shower, the laptop's aimed at it, in the bed, and we're proud of it. It's just the coming out in the open. Hey, we're going to squeeze your genitals at the airport. Hey, we're watching you at home over the laptop. Hey, we're tracking what you watch and what you do over your phone. See, the 21st century tyranny is about the big, 5 or 6 big telecommunications companies, 4 or 5 mega tech companies. They all meet, they all collude, they all decide on global standards, and backdoors are built into everything on record, and everything's surveilled without warrants. I mean, I remember USA Today 8 years ago admitting, and I've been told this by an executive, a former executive at a pizza company, but I confirm that the big 3, and this was 7, 8, 9 years ago, I forget. You can pull up USA Today on it, headline, scofflaws caught while ordering pizza, that when you order a pizza, they get 25% of any fines, they get a base fee for doing it, your live location and your name is fed through a database to the police. And they got face scanning cameras and license plate readers, but none of that for the illegal aliens, though, because they're a precious part of driving down the wages. Continuing here, here's another one from networking news from ZDNet. No privacy on Amazon's cloud drive. And they tell you in the contract, as the Google contract tells you as well, they all tell you, but you don't read that 40-page thing, do you? They tell you in the subsection at 5.2 that they will use your files, they own your files, anyone they want, they will give your files to. So, they found the USA Today. Good job. Let's see. I said 8 years ago. Let's see if I'm wrong. 2004, 7 years ago. See, my memory fails. 4/27/04. Missouri tracks scofflaws via pizza delivery database. Now, that was one article about a company in Dallas with 3 companies and how the police in Missouri were using it. Or Missouri, but if you read deeper, it's the whole country. So I thought I'd tell you about that because, you know, I'm that paranoid guy saying they're listening to you.